But the problem in the journey is this, is that we get fixated on the moment that we're in right now instead of seeing down the road to where we're going to be. And in this moment, in this sanctuary are so many different types of people in different seasons of their life. When you look at the opportunity that we have, think about this as when it comes to maybe this morning you sit in a season where, you know, God's just giving you an opportunity and you're in a season where you're on the backside, where you're catching your breath. You're on the backside of a season of your life that's been very terrible, and now you're catching your breath. And then there's some of you that right now you're getting ready because you see the storm coming. You see the season coming. Then there are some of us that are in the middle of this storm, and we're doing everything we can to keep our heads above water. And all of them are seasons, and all of them are a part of the journey. And the journey is full of people. And you learn that people come into your lives for seasons, they come into your lives for reasons, and they all accomplish something. Do you know that even the people that hurt you the most teach you the greatest lessons that you can learn from? You look at the individual journey that we're on as individuals, but then you look at when we get married, and you look at that season and that journey together where there are two individual people been walking their own path, now decide they're going to walk one together. How many of you know that can be tough? But it's a journey. And if you go in a journey think that everything's going to always be perfect and nothing's going to be challenging, then you're setting yourself up for failure. But see, the journey for me has never been about, especially in ministry, it's never been about buildings, it's never been about budgets, and it's never been about braggadocious rights to my friends about attendance numbers that we break or records that we have. Ministry has always been about, for me, the journey. It's been about the journey and the ability to link arms with people and to watch God do incredible things in their lives. The journey has always been full of important moments, to watch Him put marriages back together, to watch Him rebuild broken individuals, to watch new hope, new life come to a person that was down and out, and now to see years down the road the success stories of a moment that we were in a journey together. It's never been about, it's always been about the opportunity to see God do incredible things. That's what's so beautiful about a journey. And if we tried to encapsulate everything in one moment for a whole journey, then it would drive us crazy. So if we're going to have this thing, this life, the pace of grace, this journey, then we have to understand that we've got a starting block, we've got a path to walk, a path to run, and we've got a finish line. And in these things is the opportunity for us to learn, how do we have to start? And today I want to launch us in a foundational place to say we have to start right so we can finish well. How many times do we sign up for a race and never train for it? Hopefully you don't do that. But if you were to say I'm going to go run a half marathon, but you hadn't ran a mile in 30 years, why would you do that to yourself? If you say, man, they have marathons next week, I think that's something I'll do. How many of you know about mile 2, it looks weird? If you're not prepared. This ain't signing up for half marathon. I got to be careful. I have zero desire. I don't ever want to. And I believe that God would have to speak in an audible voice and my wife stand on her head and prophesy if I'm going to run a half marathon, just so you know. My knee does something weird, starts swelling up and building fluid. I ain't down with that. So I don't want to... But how crazy is it in this journey that we're like, oh, well, we don't have to prepare for it. We don't have to. And so here's what Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1 says. New King James Version, here's what it says. It says to us, it says that let us lay aside every weight. See, the first part of that verse says, we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses. What are witnesses? See, there are witnesses that will either affirm the great things that God has done through the race of their life, or there are people there witnessing what your journey is going to be like. And so we're surrounded by this cloud of witnesses, two different types that are there. And it says, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which so easily ensnares us. And let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. Journey. Race, path, priorities, disciplines. Let us lay aside every weight. And the writer of Hebrews makes this analogy because in the training, in the games of their culture, These people that competed in this race would go through extreme measures. Paul references it in Corinthians. He references that they put their body through strict training. And he's saying, hey, we're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses. Let us lay aside every weight, everything that is not beneficial to the completion of what you are called to do. And the sin that so easily ensnares us. I wish this morning that I knew the exact sin that the writer was talking about. And I wish this morning that I could put a list up of sin that would deal directly with each one of us. Like, this is the exact thing that the writer is talking about. And this is the exact thing of where your life is. But the truth about it is the sin that so easily entangles us is different for each one of us. And what I found is at times when the preacher has a microphone, if he wants to talk about sin that so easily entangles, he wants to talk about the sin that he sees in everyone else, but not the struggles that he may have or she may have. And so soapbox is not what I'm trying to build here and get on top of that and preach down. But what I'm trying to say is this, is that the call is that we lay aside the weight that that is weighing us down, and we cast off. We get rid of the sin that so easily entangles us. And each of us have this call to do an individual inventory and say, what is it in me? What is it that has entangled me? What is it that, see, for some of you this morning, if I was to say something about a drug addict, you'd be like, oh, I pass on that one. If I was to say something about an alcoholic, oh, I pass on that one. If I were to start making the comparison to different things and different elements, you would say, oh, I get a pass. But there's something that the enemy, by scheme and design and trap in the attack against our flesh and the desires of it and the cravings and the appetites that we have something that entangles us. And we have to understand that we have to lay aside. So we're laying aside the weight. Now, a lot of us will say, I'd love to lay aside the weight. That's how, help me there. Give me a strategy. Give me a scheme. But the truth about it is when it comes, and the sin that so easily entangles us is saying, it's where we have to do business with God in repentance. So this is called deliverance. I want you to know that the sin that so easily entangles us comes through the process of deliverance. Lord, deliver me from this issue. Now, whatever the issue is with you, you're like, Pastor, it's going to be a long day because I got lots of issues. Some of you are going to say, oh, I got this one. For some of you today, it's going to be so clear in your mind what the one thing is, this sin that so easily entangles you. And we don't start living by comparison and say, oh, well, they're not doing so bad, or they're not, I'm better than them. Now, he didn't say, hey, the sin that so easily entangles them. He said the sin that so easily entangles us, himself included. That means that in this journey, we're always doing inventory of where we are. And we're laying aside the weight. That there's never a time and a place in this journey that we're walking and we go, I've done everything I need to do, so here I go. I'm going to just check out. I'm going to keep going. No, because in the journey, different seasons call for different elements and different training that you have to go through. The things that, think about it this way, and parents, you understand this as well. When you go from it just being y'all and you jump up and you decide you want to go eat about 10:30 at the Waffle House, that all sounds good and great because it's fun and you can do that. And you want to stay up late and you want to sleep in because your job gives you an opportunity, got a little flexibility, that's all good. Have the first baby. Now, season has changed, but it's still a journey. Now you packing like you going on a 6-month vacation everywhere you go. You got, the mama getting a workout for real. You're like, just let me hold the baby. I'd rather hold a baby than that 15,000-pound bag you toting around. And is it needed? Well, you never know what's going to blow out that diaper. You never know what's going to happen, the spit up, the different things that happen. But then guess what? That's a season. And you hear people say the dumb things like this, oh, you're going to miss it when it's gone. You're like, I rebuke you, devil, in the name of Jesus. That is not godly, what is coming out of that child. I'm telling you right now, this is a purging moment. God's cleaning them out. And you get to the next season, and you're thinking, man, and people are going, you're gonna miss this. Try going to a restaurant. You have 2. Now you're in man defense. Then you have 3, you go to zone. You're trying to, all of it part of the journey. And you get, and your difference of opinions of life change in the journey. Where before you're like, my kid will never. And you're like, oh, I'm sorry. You get the difference in journey and what happens and the way that you see it is, so what happens is at each season you have these elements that are surrounding these storms, these opportunities, these things, and there's always going to be something that is trying to weigh you down, and there's always going to be something that's going to entangle you. And the things that entangled you in the beginning aren't going to entangle you further down the road. There's going to be new things that pop up, new fleshly appetites. Do you know that for me, it's real easy for me to get encapsulated into a hobby. Now, is it ungodly for me to have hobbies? Don't say anything, April. This is not your chance to say anything. You just, right there, baby. We're going to simmer down now. Simmer down. Yeah. I could see it coming like she was, she got emotional right there. She had goosebumps and everything. She was like, I think she was about to yell Roll Tide and just lose it all. It's not that having a hobby is bad, it's just bad. So when things in my life begin to encapsulate me more than God can, and it begins to divert my attention, it's not that, it's what I allow to entangle me. So it's not like an either or. For me, it's a both and. If I'm going to do it, I want to do it and use it, whatever ability that I have for the glory of God. That the hobby doesn't have to become evil because the hobby wasn't evil. It was the priority which I placed on it. Does that make sense? We have this moment say there's always going to be an element where we have to lay aside the weight and we have to let go of the sin that so easily entangles us. Well, maybe an addiction in the beginning when you first came to Christ, but now it's a gossip issue. You just find yourself living in misery and creating that kind of company and always having backdoor commerce. And so it's a sin that entangles because what happens, you're supposed to be a life speaker, and now you're a death speaker, and you know God didn't create you to do that. And so that's why in every part of this journey, we're laying aside the weight, and we are letting go of the sin that so easily entangles us. What we need is deliverance and the discipline to lay it aside. We're praying, Jesus, forgive me. Jesus, I don't even know that we say, Jesus, take this from me. What we say is, Jesus, if you will deliver me, because there are some things that are going on in our life that we want Jesus to die for, and the fact is he did all the dying he's going to do on the cross. Now he wants us to die to ourselves. And there's these things we're going, Jesus, deliver me. He's going, I delivered you from that. I've given you the power to overcome. I've given you the ability. I have delivered you. When you asked me, Lord, forgive me and set me free in Jesus' name, I didn't say, psych. I said, it is done. Jesus will speak to the issue in our life and he will deliver us. But the problem is when he sets us free from the sin that entangles, now we have the discipline to lay aside the extra weight. The thing that is weighing us down, that guilt, that shame, we have to unpack it and put it off. Why? Because it's how we start. We can't run well until we deal with some things in our life that we lay aside every weight. Why? Because there's a great cloud of witnesses watching what we're doing. There is a great cloud of witnesses. Some are cheering and some are critics. You got to know that. Some are cheering you on, some are critics. When I first came to Christ and I said I gave my life to Jesus, not everybody celebrated the same. There were some that cheered me on and there were some that said you'll never make it. When I said me and April were getting married, there were some that cheered us on and there were some that had money pool going on how long it was going to last. Whenever we had our first child, like there was an option. You would think that whenever we had our first child in Gavin, we would think people would celebrate, but instead of celebrating, they're like, oh, you're just not financially ready. Are you ever financially ready for a kid? You can have all the money saved up, and then something goofy happened, and it's gone. And you're like, you're not financially ready. But, well, guess what? We can't give him back. There's a no return policy. Well, you're just a kid raising a kid. I probably am. But I'm going to figure it out. Are you ever, you're mature enough to be a parent. Look, I don't know that you're ever mature enough to be a parent. And there's nobody that's got it figured out, but it's part of the journey. It's part of the laying aside the weight and the sin that so easily entangles it. And there were people that celebrated and there were people that didn't. And then we had our second child really quickly. We love the hospital experience, that journey. We love that. Okay, I did. She loved the epidurals. And but it was all fun. We had big old parties in the labor until it got time to have the baby. And then I was like, hey, y'all get out of here. Just for this all free. I ain't down with a whole big old party being in there while that's going on. She was like, I want this person and that person. I was like, nope. And this may be too real for some of y'all, but they wasn't there when we made the baby. They don't need to be there when the baby comes out. I'm just letting you know. They all up in there talking about, I'm like, this is my world. I'm in my volleyball school. Get out of here. No, you ain't filming that. That's how embarrassing things happen in 15 years. I'm trying to look back on a wedding video. No, you can take pictures out there. I'm just weird. Now you're saying you have to be that way. I'm talking about me, the sin that so easily entangles me. And I'm thinking, through the journey and through the moments, and when all of them have different, but people, even with our second, they were like, oh, they're never going to make it. Oh my goodness, that's going to be too much. And I tell you what, he's got to have more sense than that. He has got to have more sense than that to have a baby that quick. Well, then guess what happened? Here come number 3. Did they celebrate? Mm-mm. I remember that people that I shared it with, I thought was going to be really excited. They were like it put them out. They ain't paid for a number one thing. I'm thinking, all right. So we was happy together, part of the journey. Laying aside the weight, the expectations, the different things. Can I tell you that when we lay aside the weight and the journey and the different things that happen in our life and the sin that so easily ensnares us, those things that catch us at different moments, and you feel them latch on, and you're going, man, I got to lay aside this weight, but I feel these things are entangling me. I'm entangled, and you feel like you're suffocating, you can't breathe, and you just have to, in the power of Jesus' name, you can be free from those things. That's deliverance. But then you have to have the discipline to lay aside the weight. I want to tell you that I think that it's important as a witness that you look at examples of people and attributes that they have that you want to repeat in your life. I have learned that mentorship is one of the most important things that happens in my life. And I have some people that I'm very closely related to, that I'm very connected to, and I have some people that mentor me from a distance. But the people that I pick and that I look up to in my life, they have some attributes that are very consistent. They're things that I look for. And I think that they're right. I think that they are good things to look for. And I didn't come to this on my own. These are things that through 18 years that I've just looked and I wanted to model because they were biblical examples of what attributes, what godly people should have. Now, when you look for attributes in someone, say, what's the greatest attribute that someone can have? What's the first? That they're rich. Well, see, the problem is you don't really know if they're rich or not. They just may have a lot financed. You're like, well, they're, but you don't know if they're greedy. You don't know if they're, see, and the difference is it's not that God can let you be extremely wealthy. He can bless you crazy because he knows he can trust to get it to you because he can get it through you. But it's not the number one attribute. Like, oh, they got a bunch of, why? Because that means that you have this mentality. You'll do whatever it takes to get whatever you need. Now you look too and you start going and you start looking at different examples. You go, oh, well, they're popular. As if we're still in high school. Are we in high school to be like, oh, I wish I could sit at that lunch table. I guess I'll stay over here. Like there's some kind of cliquish thing that happens. Oh, well, do you know that says a lot more about insecurity than it does really about cliques? And before we start saying that there's a clique and everybody's got, instead of looking to fit in into those cliques, why don't we become the friend we wish we'd always had? And say, I'm not gonna limit myself because I love everybody. And you have this moment in the journey and you're looking at these things. What are the attributes? The attributes I think that you look for, number one, I think that you look and you see that they are fixed individuals, meaning that they are fastened securely in position. That they are planted, that they are steadfast, that when winds and storms and when they hit them, that they are fixed, they are constant. They're fixed in position, planted firmly. I want to see somebody who come through all of the storms and they stood against and made it. I look for that. I'm a witness to that and I want to be like that. The second is I think you want to be immovable. You want to look for the attribute of someone being immovable. What does that mean? It means not yielding to argument or to pressure. That means that when culture changes, you go, oh, I guess I'll do this. No, you say, I don't yield because I am fixed and I'm immovable. The reason that I do this isn't because of what culture dictates. I do this because this is what I know to be true. I am immovable. Look, I'm not talking about whether or not you're going to see a PG or a PG-13 movie. I'm talking about doctrinal issues that you say, I'm going to be immovable, and some argument isn't going to derail me from what I know to be true. It's the difference that whenever you leave high school and you go to college and you get into your introductory psychology course or a simple philosophy 101, and you get into those things and you go, wow, that might be true. No. You learn that truth isn't a philosophy. Truth is a man named Jesus Christ, and you become immovable. And no pressure or outside argument is going to derail you from what you know to be true because you are immovable. Have you ever seen people that get up and say, well, here's what I know, and then they start not being popular for what they said, and they're like, oh, yeah, you're probably right. I guess I'll change. And you see them shifting. They go from here to here. Oh, this is what I believe. Oh, no, this is what I believe. And they start going around. No, they're immovable. They're immovable. Now I think you look for consistency. Someone's consistent. An attribute of consistency. So we want to be fixed. We want to be immovable, and we want to be consistent. We want to be unchanging in achievement or effect over a period of time. See, when you're consistent, your success won't change who you are. Lord, make me successful. Lord, give me favor. Lord, give me. What if he gave it to you? Would it change you? If you came in a bunch of money, would it make you treat people different? If you came into a prominent position and you had authority, would you still treat people right? Some people say, well, they got a God complex. No, they just don't know how to handle authority. They're screaming and beating their chest. Can I tell you, if you got to scream and beat your chest to get your point across, then you're not in charge. Even in your house. I'm the man of it. If you got to do all that, you ain't the man of the house. You mad because you ain't the man of that. Because you don't have to argue the obvious. Because I ain't gotta get loud. Here's the simple facts. You don't do that, you'll never leave again. Just is what it is. Oh, you hate me? That's cool too. Because I know that'll change. You got all of these different seasons and different things that happen, but consistency. Going, look, when it comes to parenting, how many of you know it's the greatest thing you can have in parenting? Consistency. That whenever they mess up, like, that's 2 months, you'll never breathe again. They're going to have to breathe. They're going to have to breathe. You can't, it's not fair. You can't, it's illegal. All right, you will go to jail for a very long time. And you go, well, you'll never have, I'm taking your phone and your, but how many of you know that consistency is hard to have because it's inconvenient? And you have these moments where you go, oh, this was inconvenient to me. Can I tell you, when we punish our kids now, it's more inconvenient to us than it is anybody else. So I'm like, when I punish you, I'm punishing me. So let's get mad together. I'm going to be consistent. And if I'm not consistent, my wife will remind me, she'll say, baby, 20 years isn't fair. That's just not, it's not right. I'll be like, well, you don't tell me. Okay, yeah, you're right. 20 years, you're probably right. Because sometimes I get angry. When I get angry, I don't make wise decisions. Because the common things I wanted, I'm forgetting in this journey that there are things that entangle and things that give me emotions and different things. But I'm on this path. I want to be fixed and movable and consistent and go, I've got to do this. Look, and my kids get mad at me whenever I'm consistent, but I feel like in the end they'll appreciate it more because they knew that whenever the storms hit their life, they got a daddy they can run to that stood. Why is it that I'm talking about the pace of grace and we talking about being fixed and movable and consistent? But because before you start running, you got to have some elements that are going to get you through the journey. We got to have some things that will get us through the journey. We got to know that when the storms of this world rage around us, pound against us as individuals, against our families, against our marriages, against us in our workplace, that in the circle of influence that we have, people are watching and wondering how our character is going to collapse or respond. They're watching. How are they going to handle this? And the issue is not if the storms come. The issue is when, how strong, and for how long. And not every storm is the exact same. But will you consistently stand? And as time passes and storms of life come and go, and you consistently stand, people will begin to run to you for refuge. They will begin to look. Why? Because we start to say, surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses. Witnesses that can affirm to say, look, when you've done all you can, I can tell you if you'll just stand. And then there are others going, I wonder how they're going to handle this race. I wonder how they're going to handle this moment. I wonder how they're going to handle this. I am inspired. I'm inspired from people that walk through tragedy and stand just as steady. It motivates me. It motivates me to be like, I've got no excuse. I get upset if it rains on softball night, thinking that, man, this is tough life. This is terrible. Somebody's walking through the most terrible. I'm like, man, first world problems. I'm complaining because it's amazing that when we watch and we see the storms and we see all the different elements, that we learn so much from them. We learn because people begin to run to us for refuge whenever the storms hit them. You're like, well, Pastor, I feel like I'm standing, but I feel like I'm not doing well. Can I tell you, if you're standing in the middle of a storm today, as long as you're not quitting, you're surviving it and you're going to make it. That there are times where you feel like the wind's about to take you and you feel like you're about to be taken over. Can I tell you, just keep standing. Don't give in. Don't quit. There's so many people when storms come in, they just walk away. Don't quit, because the element of who you are is going to be dictated in the way you respond to the storms that are not comfortable when it gets tough. Stand in the middle of the tough season. Stand in the middle of the storm when the winds and the lightning is cracking and the thunders roar and you got all these things happening. It seems like you're going to be blown over and taken, and the storm's going to, if you just stand. I believe it's why the Apostle Paul wrote to the church in Ephesians. He says, put on the whole armor of God. Put it on. And then that you'll be able to withstand the evil in that day, and having done all to stand, stand therefore. He's saying once you've done all you can to fix your feet, once you've done all you can to brace for the impact, when you feel like you're about to go, then stand some more. Then when you think you've done all you can, you got to remember that his word says that when we have a weakness, his strength is perfected in us. That when we don't feel like we can do it and we think, oh, well, God will give you no more than you can handle. No, God will give you more than you can handle, because it's not more than he can. And the benefit that we have is when it gets more than what we can we don't stand in our own strength. We stand and go, you know what, enemy, devil, when you come against me with that storm, I may not have what it takes, but the anchor of my soul is going to hold me, and I'm going to be steady and consistent. When I feel like I don't have it anymore, I'm going to stand some more. I'm going to stand some more. No matter how tough it gets, I'm going to stand. That's why he wrote to the church in Galatia. He said, and let us not grow weary while doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart. Man, if you think about the stories that we heard last week, what happened in the long run is this couple thought they had a pass because they'd already been so much after losing their child. And then for her to be diagnosed with stage 2 cancer and have to go through the same chemotherapy as her child. Can you imagine, like, well, no, when you've done all you can to stand, you stand for some more, because what is the option? What is the option? What's the other side of it? What can we run to if we can't run to God? If we don't have God holding us and sustaining us, what else can we do? We will encapsulate ourselves in misery and brokenness, and we will pick up every weight and entangle every sin instead of casting it off and letting it become freedom. Listen to me. I think it's important that we understand the why behind the standing, the journey, the being fixed, the immovable, the consistent. I think it's important that we understand the why. The why is this. Is that you have weathered the storms and now you become a place of refuge. Why? Because you can be counted on. Come and go the seasons, but you look to those who have passed, and you look as an example for those as you move forward. Today I'm going to leave you with several things that I want you to walk out of here. It's going to be very simple for you to remember. Number one is who you are that matters the most. It's who you are that matters the most. In our society, we get hung up on what we do. You think about the basic conversation. Hey, I'm Johnny. How you doing? Oh, Jimmy. It's nice to meet you. Oh, cool. So, yeah, your kid goes here. All right, cool. Is you playing ball? That's great. What do you do? Well, I'm a pastor. Well, it depends on who you're talking to or what they think about you. And I ask them, what do you do for a living? Well, if they don't say something flashy, like, We get so caught up on what we do that we lose the value of who we are. And then what happens is we start trying to do things to validate who we are. If I do enough good things, people will think I'm good. No, it doesn't matter how many good things you do unless your foundation is right. Who you are matters more than what you do. Because when the who you are is right, the what you do will always line up. It means that you have core values. It means that the driving force behind everything you do is who you are. When you're driving down the road and you see someone struggling because the weight's too heavy for them, and you go, man, you know what? I don't have 3 minutes, but I'll pull over and help them get that board in there. Now, I go up and go, oh, hey, I'll help you pick up this board. 9:30 and 11. Celebration Church, I'm the pastor. I ain't gonna pick it up to you. No, because who I am is more important than what I do. Because I don't like to see someone struggling, I'm gonna pick up that board, I'm gonna help them. Why? Because I feel like it's who God's called me to be. That when God's given you an ability to help when you can, when God's given you an ability to do who you are, it keeps your motivation right. It keeps everything about it. It keeps you in right context. Man, who I am. What's more important? Do I try and add to my list of what I do, or do I add to what I need to become? Who am I being? Not what am I doing? So what will happen is we get caught up in doing and forget who we are. And for me in ministry, it means this, that I can work for God full-time and live for Him part-time. See, it matters more about how we pray, how we read, how we seek His face, how we receive instruction from the Holy Spirit. It becomes more important about that than the flashy, trendy things that we can do, because it's the things that will withstand the storm. That you just don't work up emotional responses like, I'm going to stand. You know how many people jump up? Oh, I'm going to stand. Oh, I got it now. I'm going to make it. You go, look, I'm glad for your excitement, but if you don't do these things, you ain't going to make it 2 weeks. You've got to do, like, are you talking about a set of, no, I ain't talking about rules. I'm talking about discipleship. I'm talking about being teachable. I'm talking about being coachable. I'm talking about lining yourself up. It's the core values of who you are. See, the core values of who is, why do you do what you do? Is it because Jesus has transformed you? When the why behind you, when the who you are is more important than what you do, you don't let your future sit in the hands of another individual. Because when it's about what you do, you're looking for that pat on the back, that hand clap, that you're so awesome thing. You know what happens is it's great when we get it, but it destroys us when we don't receive it. It matters more who we are. Like, well, I can't do my job anymore. So one thing I love when I spend time with someone who's much older, and they'll tell me, well, you know, I used to do that. I used to be able to do. I used to work so. And I'm like, hey, who you are is more important than what you've done. I'm not interested. Look, I love you. I'm more interested in who you are than what. But there's a generation that found their validity in what they did and what they produced instead of who they were. Man, it's more important than who you are, because who you are is what has inspired the people that are around you now. This is the foundation. See, the wise and the foolish builders that Jesus referenced in Matthew chapter 7, verse 24 through 27. When He told the story of the wise and foolish builders, He said, the rain came, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against the house, yet it did not fall, because the foundation was on the rock. The rock runs deep. The rock is Jesus Christ. But everyone who hears these words of mine does not put them into practice like a foolish man who built it on the sand. In our lives, there's a lot of people who want to build a pretty house on a slab about this deep. Look what I built. Look what got destroyed quickly. But if you will take the time and make the foundation as deep as the building is tall, that is the who you are. I would rather build it slowly and make it right than to throw a deep bomb and miss it completely. Why? Because it's what you do consistently that matters. What you do every day is more important than what some people do very rarely. What you do. You say, well, I pray every now and then, but do you pray how do you pray every day? You just start where you are. Who you are. Who you are is defined by your relationship with Christ. That's the foundation on the rock, and the rock is strong enough to withstand the winds and the waves and the storm and the tragedy and the loss and the successes and the failures. It's who you are that matters most. Number 2, it's the unseen things that sink us. Years ago in a leadership teaching in a team that I was a part of in Louisiana, and we met from all over the state. And there was this image that stuck out to me through that teaching that has always been with me. It's the image of an iceberg. What do you think it is that sinks the ship when they hit the iceberg? Is it 10% above the water or the 90 below? It's the 90 below. But in our day and age, we're so worried about the 10%, we want to make that look good while the 90 is not in good shape. We want to be talented. We want to be creative. And the problem is it's not an either or, it's a both and. If the 90 is right, the 10 can be right. But you can make the 10 look good for a little while, but it's going to sink the whole ship because what's below the surface isn't working. And so we're geared so much to say, oh, well, as long as nobody can see what I'm really doing, it won't matter. It won't see. You can't outrun. You can't outrun. It's like if you want to get in shape and you start running 5 miles, but you still like to eat 17 pizzas a day, you can't outrun a bad appetite. You can't do it. You can't say, oh, well, no, it's the part of laying. It's what no one else sees. It's the things that you do in private that matter more than what everybody celebrates in public. But in our society, we celebrate, they're doing. And we live like little trolls running around going, ooh, that's so good. Ooh, that's so good. Ooh, that's so, ooh, I want to be. No, God wants you to be just like you because He created you unique. And if you work on the 90, your 10 will be exactly what God wants it to be. And your sink won't ship because of what no one else can see. Like, what do you mean? It's about being steady. It's about being consistent. It's about being immovable. Why? Because the 90% that no one else sees is what the 10% should come from. It's the opportunity that we have to be great for God. So let's say that you're working on who you are and the unseen things, the things that so easily entangle, the weight that is holding you back. What happens when you do it? Can I tell you? That's when we do business with God like that. Now we're ready. Now we're ready. Now we get in the block and we hear ready, set, go. I believe if God were to speak to us today, and if He were to be the one who yelled the ready, set, go, it would go like this. Now you're ready, set, go. Because it matters who we are. Matters how we live. Why? There's witnesses that are watching us, and there are witnesses that are cheering us on. We're surrounded by them. Surrounded by them. And from the balconies of heaven, the witnesses, the great heroes of the faith, are yelling, run. They're yelling, run. They're yelling, run, because they've seen the prize. They want us to run this race with endurance. They don't want us to quit. Well, it got tough, and they walked out on me, and this happened, and man, it just seems like everything, and oh, it's tough. Don't quit. They're saying run. And then there's other witnesses going, quit, because if you'll quit, it'll give me a reason to never run again. And God's saying, hey, now you're ready. Set, go, because here's the fundamental principle. Once your character is fixed and immovable, the next critical element in the development of your character is the understanding that now you got to run. So in these coming weeks, when we talk about pace, when we talk about our circles, when we talk about our yoke, when we talk about all of it, I'm telling you, this is such a timely thing for us and for our culture and for our communities. Now you're ready. Let's go. Let's go. Let's run. Let's run. Every head bowed, every eye closed. Hey, this is Pastor Johnny, and I wanted to say thank you for taking time to watch one of our messages from Sunday here at Celebration Church. I believe that you've heard a life-giving message with the truth of the gospel of Jesus Christ, and you have every opportunity to surrender or to excel in your relationship with God. We exist to lead people in an authentic relationship with Jesus Christ. I would encourage you to come and be with us on Sundays at 9:30 and 11, and let's do life together. But if you made a decision to follow Jesus Christ today, what I'd love for you to do so that we can connect is take your cell phone and text the number 555-888 and simply put the term My New Life with no spaces in it, My New Life, and we'll respond to you, and we look forward to connecting. Thank you so much for checking out our website, checking out our media page, and listening to the sermons from Sunday. God bless you.